Charlotte is a place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve.
I am mic'd up. I can hear it now. Yes. My name is Reverend Jim Ernst. I am co-minister with Reverend Lisa Herklotz, who you will hear from a little bit later. She gives a... Okay. Let's go ahead and move into prayer. I invite you to take a breath. Close your eyes if that feels right. And move within. Feel in that heart space. Feel the goodness of this room. The blessing we have of meeting together in this new space. St. Luke's. And we call that gratitude. You feel it deeply, knowing this is a space where we gather. These like minds come together. And we celebrate this time. We're grateful for each other. We're grateful for this unity of Charlotte that we call home. And with that, we simply say, Amen. Let's join together in our prayer of oneness out loud. There is one presence and one power in my life and the universe. God, the good, omnipresent. We claim and affirm this presence as love within our lives. Father, we also have a prayer team, and those links are on the website. They are also on the newsletter. It allows you to sign or to create a form to ask for, to submit a prayer. There's also a prayer box out in the hallway that you can physically ask for prayer, and that will go to our prayer team. They hold that prayer in confidence and pray for 2 weeks over that prayer, and then we send that on to Silent Unity in Kansas City. You can also reach out to Silent Unity, and that phone number is, I believe it's on the bulletin board, but if not, you can ask us and we'll give you that Silent Unity number. And I'd like to invite up the Daily Word readers, Mickey and Reverend Jim. Will you do
Yes.
Please.
Soy un ser pleno. Soy un ser divino. Sé que soy un ser pleno y único, una expresión divina. Pero no puedo experimentar plenamente esta realidad si me enfoco en la enfermedad o en los pensamientos de carencias y limitación. En lugar de resistirme a pensar limitante, en lugar de resistirme a pensamientos limitados, permito que la luz del entendimiento divino disipe la oscuridad de la ignorancia espiritual. Así que tu cuerpo está lleno de luz y no participa de la oscuridad. Serían todos luminosos como cuando la lámpara le alumbra con resplandor. Lucas 11:36.
Thank you, Mickey. I have it much, go ahead, I have it much easier. I have a large print. Wholeness. As a divine being, I am whole. I know I am whole, wondrously made, and a unique expression of the divine. But I cannot truly know wholeness if I become distracted by an experience of illness or thoughts of lack or limitation. I do not resist limiting thoughts. Instead, I let the light of divine understanding dissolve the darkness of religious ignorance. I'm sorry, of spiritual ignorance. Remembering that divine life lives in me, I affirm my body's wholeness, even if I am experiencing illness. Growing awareness of the limitless flow of divine ideas reminds me I have all I need to experience a joyous, abundant life. As I say yes again and again to my true spiritual nature, my life becomes an ever-unfolding demonstration of wholeness. From the Gospel of Luke, if then your whole body is full of light, with no part of it in darkness, it will be as full light as when a lamp gives you light with its rays. As a divine being, I am whole.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I need to take a deep breath in. You ready? One minute. My topic is harmony. But have you noticed how when you're living in harmony, like when things are going well and you're in the flow, you don't really think about harmony very much. Until what? Discord. Da, da, da. Until it suddenly doesn't feel like it's flowing anymore. Then all of a sudden I start thinking about harmony. It's funny because when we had the prayer flags up here and people were coming up to do it, Reverend Jim and I, it apparently happened about the same time, were inspired with a word. He was at this end, I was at this end. Somebody saw us writing our words down and we both wrote the word harmony. And part of the reason is this last move has been a big shakeup. And that's not unusual because packing up and moving your spiritual home or any home is a lot of disruption. But it seems like when we moved from Arrowwood to Wesley, people were ready to go. And that was a welcome change. We were really happy at Wesley. So leaving Wesley to come here, even though it's a beautiful space, so happy to be here, it had a little more emotion to it. And it definitely stirred a lot of people up. And so we're still working through that process of letting go of what was and being open to what the possibilities are for here. Now, don't get me wrong, every time I walk into this sanctuary, I fall in love. It's how it feels to me when I walk in. I just have the sense of being in love. So I am so happy to be here. And I know I've heard from many of you the same thing, but it doesn't mean we're not still going through a process of starting afresh. So harmony is what I've been inspired to talk about. And it might be described as the quality of combining different parts to form a pleasing and consistent whole. That's why I picked this mosaic. A mosaic is taking a bunch of parts of different colors, different shapes, maybe even made out of different materials, but they could come together and create a beautiful whole. And that's harmony. But now we're going to talk about harmony in a little deeper level. That's divine harmony. Divine harmony, if we go to the Revealing Word, which is Unity's book of metaphysical meanings of words, in there it says that harmony is perfect accord with the goodness, the beauty, and the righteousness of omnipresent spirit. Perfect accord with the goodness and the beauty and the light and love and joy of spirit. This is God's creation. God, as single source, that single divine power from which all life extends, is created in harmony. So harmony is always available to us, but not always experienced. So how do we lose the experience of harmony? Well, if being in harmony is that alignment with the truth of our being, that our divine source creates in harmony, therefore being in that image and likeness, we create in harmony. If we're not experiencing that, it usually means we have put our focus, our attention, and our will on the external. We're looking outside of us for that source of peace and divine flow. And it doesn't happen out there, does it? It has to come from within first, because that's where God is living and expressing through. So, when we lose sight of that oneness, then again, going back to the revealing word, it says what happens is it breaks the connection between spirit and manifestation. Spirit is still flowing in harmony. We're the point where we bring it into manifestation into the world. So when there's discord, where do I look? I have to start within, because that's the source. That's the source. So we regain it by going back to our truth. And our truth is we're already whole and perfect and complete expressions of the divine. Set in a place where we get to co-create in harmony in a wide variety of ways. We're all different parts. You can imagine that we're all the different parts. We're all the different parts. But when you remember, and I remember, that we have one single source from which we come, then we look out and we see this beautiful, graceful, whole pattern. And we experience harmony. Harmony is the experience that comes from that. So I want to turn to a particular expression of harmony through our relationships, because being a part of the whole creation, we are a part of a big whole, a greater beingness. We're not islands in and of ourselves. We actually are who we are with each other. And we get to learn how to express through our relationships with each other. It still starts from in here, how I'm expressing, but it must include everything to be the whole. So let's talk about harmony through relationships. So going back to the idea that harmony is the quality of combining different parts to form a pleasing and consistent whole. That's what our relationships allow us to do. Excuse me. So this doesn't mean that we all have to agree, and it doesn't mean we all have to become exactly the same thing. Quite the contrary. If that mosaic was made out of pieces that were exactly the same color, same size, and same shape, what would it look like? Right, a big dot. A big dot. It's the diversity that gives us the experience of expressing ourselves uniquely, but within the whole expression of creation. So if we don't need to agree, and we don't all need to be exactly the same, there is still something that is required in order for us to experience harmonious relationships, and that is understanding. Understanding. Let's take a moment to think that throughout our lifetime, we have experiences that condition us to believe that our limited thoughts, opinions, and beliefs are actually who we are. Not just ideas we have, but are really who we are. Those ideas I hold, they are my very identity and my existence. That's what we're conditioned to believe in the world. So, what happens then? If we're defining ourselves as anything other than divine and whole, well, we have a whole array of ideas that we feel we need to protect and defend in order to maintain our sense of self and identity. Doesn't that make sense? I need to be me, and you do. However, we have to remember who we are. So, knowing this, when someone disagrees with us, what happens? When someone disagrees with us, it can feel like our very identity and existence is being threatened. Is it the truth? We're just sharing ideas, aren't we? They're just ideas, they're thoughts, opinions, and beliefs. But if they don't resonate with mine, and if they're in direct conflict with mine, I can feel like my very identity is threatened. And I think this is really important. I really sat with this and thought about it. We're doing a lot of work with triggers, identifying our triggers and healing those so that we can live in a more harmonious relationship. And what you start to recognize, or at least for me, is even these little situations that don't seem to be big can hit a trigger in me and raise a lot of defensiveness or resentment or anger. There's a whole wide range of emotions, right? But underneath it is this fear that if I'm not right, then I don't exist. Then who am I? And that's why turning within and remembering is so important. So what happens when that occurs is we're generally ready then to engage in battle, to defend our views, our opinions, and our ideas, to maintain some sense of we're right and I am a real person, my identity is maintained, I'm okay. And for a moment I might find some temporary satisfaction out of that, but it'll continue to be questioned, right? Because nobody's ever going to agree with everything. That's not what our relationships are. I don't know if we look for like-minded people in the deeper values, right? We absolutely are come together in our similarities, but our differences become where we grow. So harmony is born from our desire to genuinely know what another person's reality looks like and feels like. Let's sit and think about that. Harmony is born when we're willing to really just hear somebody else's expression of who they believe they are. It's a willingness to hear through their eyes and their heart and to understand their truth beyond what we think. Have you tried that? At the most profound level, harmony in a relationship doesn't mean that we agree with each other on every content of life. However, it does mean we share an intention to understand and know each other. In agreement, in disagreement, and in everything in between. It's our intention, when we come together with the intention to understand each other and know each other a little better. Whether we agree, we disagree, or whatever comes in between, we have an opportunity to allow something else to happen. There's a beautiful quote by Charles Fillmore. It comes from his book, Christian Healing. Charles Fillmore is the co-founder at Unity. And I have it on a magnet on my refrigerator, so I see it often. And it has become one of my go-tos because in it he says, when people understand each other, love increases. When people understand each other, love increases. Not when they agree, not when they join in like ideas, but when they understand each other. And the more and more I looked into this, the more and more I began to see, my box. Sorry for cutting out a little bit. But the kind of love we're talking about that's increasing is not our personal love for each other. That's a very beautiful expression, but we're talking about divine love. We're talking about love, divine love that is broad and unlimited, that is the universal and harmonizing power of our oneness, of our interconnectedness, of our wholeness. That's the love that increases. And it increases in our own hearts and our awareness. through understanding. And now this is where miracles happen. When you're in that moment of standing with somebody and you're shifted to the intention, hopefully the both of you can do it, because if the two of you do it, it seems to happen faster, but it doesn't matter if they're in agreement. If you stand there and you're willing to change your intention to understand this person more deeply without your own filters, that's where the miracle happens. Because what happens when we do that is we stop resisting. Because whenever we need to be right, we're in a state of resistance. And it honestly doesn't matter if we're right or not. We could be totally right. But when we're trying to defend it and protect it, we're not allowing spirit to come through. We're not allowing that connection of love to express itself. And that's more important. That's why in A Course in Miracles it says, would you rather be right or happy? Would you rather be right or I want to be both? And I could be, but if I let go of being right, I can be happy a whole lot more often. And I might find out I'm right. But right is such a loose idea, right? So, actually, I want to talk to you about that. I'm going to share a story with you. This is the story of the blind man and the elephant. Have any of you heard that? It's a very common story that is shared. Some of you have. If you haven't heard it, I'm going to tell it a little differently, so stay with me. So there's two blind men, and they're standing in front of an elephant. One blind man is towards the front, the other one's toward the back. The first blind man that's towards the front of the elephant is feeling his trunk. And he can feel the trunk moving and wrapping around his arm. He says, oh, an elephant must be like a snake. It's wiry and strong and very flexible. But the blind man in the back of the elephant's feeling the legs. He feels that leg and he's like, oh no, the elephant is strong and broad like a tree trunk. That's what an elephant is. And the first blind man says, no, I'm feeling it. It's right here in my hands. I feel it. It's wiry and flexible. And the one in the back's going, no, it's strong like a tree trunk. Which one of them is right? They're both right. Now, they could wage a war over that. Unless one of them says, I'm curious. And one blind man works his way over to the other blind man, and he says, show me what you need. And then he feels the leg. He goes, oh, I see. And the other blind man, he takes the other blind man, he comes and he feels the trunk. And they go, oh, I see. Now their minds are starting to open up a little. Now, what if they move their hands up and they feel the elephant's face? And they feel the ear, and the body, and the tail, and now they have a whole bigger picture of this elephant, don't they? And now they stand back and go, oh, we were both right and wrong. Because they were right in that moment from their perception. What they were feeling was their reality, and it was totally right to them. Have you ever felt that way? I certainly have. I see it, I feel it, I know it, I'm right. And I have someone in front of me going, I see it, I feel it, I know it's right. It's exactly opposite of what I'm experiencing. So when we just drop that for a moment and get curious and open, we can open to a greater perspective, a more whole perspective. And as I said, this is where the miracle happens. Because that's where you have a holy perspective. Because now spirit is moving through and expressing. And you can recognize something that neither one of you even knew before. And you're once again in harmony. Now, I have a personal story to share of Reverend Jim and myself, and I got his permission to share this. I had just moved in to his house. This was back years ago. And I had extra pieces of furniture that we had in an extra room. And we weren't sure what we were going to do with everything yet. And I came home one night and my TV stand was gone. And I said, where'd my TV stand go? My TV stand. Cute, a little clue there. And he said, oh, I gave that to Hannah, his daughter, who was probably living in another apartment at the time. And I said, you did what? Now, it wasn't so much he gave it to her. I wanted to be asked before something of mine was taken without my knowledge. So I got very irate. And then he got very irate because it was not an expensive piece of furniture. It was kind of a cheap little TV stand. He didn't think much of it, and Hannah needed it. It was like, why do I have a problem? So we went back and forth for a while, and it got a little hot. Because we both dug in. I'm feeling the trunk, and he's feeling the leg. And we are not budging. So, new relationship, we're working on it. And you understand, right? When you're defending yourself, you're defending more than the actual idea. You're defending it because you feel your identity is tied to it. So there's some deeper roots being touched on. So we called our minister at the time, Reverend Jean, and we said, we'd like to come talk to you because we really want to work through this and be in harmony again, basically is what we wanted. So we sat with him, and Jean sat with us, and we started sharing our story. We started giving our sides, and we started going back and forth and back and forth. And I remember looking once at Reverend Jean, and he was just watching us, looking very amused. Just looked very amused. And which, at first kind of irritated me. And then at some point, Reverend Jim and I looked at each other, and we just got really quiet for a second. And we just burst out laughing. I don't even know where it came from, but it happened simultaneously. We burst out laughing, and we said, okay, and now we can talk about understanding each other. Because now we wanted something more than just, I think seeing Reverend Jean looking so amused kind of gave us a perspective of, wow, this is like really not a big deal. What are you really defending here? And we did actually get to the deeper thing we're defending. But now we can talk about it because now we're in a place where we're here to understand each other and listen. And then find an agreement. And we move forward in harmony. So, when you're in a situation and you know you're right, just imagine which part of the elephant are you feeling? And is there another part that you don't know about? And maybe we find out what that other person is experiencing, because it's very different from what we were experiencing. But this is at the core of harmonious living. And harmonious living means living in alignment with our spiritual truth. And when we can rest in the knowledge that we're whole, eternal, divine beings, then we can come from a place that we don't have to defend ourselves. Because ideas and thoughts and opinions, they're all just out there to play with. So let's play with them and see what we can create. So, do you desire to live a harmonious life? I know I certainly do. Let's go to the last slide. So I'm going to call up 1 Peter 3, verses 8 through 9. This is a great instruction. And this is Peter, the rock of the church, the early church, who is reaching out to the early Christians who are still being persecuted and giving them strength. He's looking to support them in how to be in an environment where they're being persecuted. And here's what the advice he gives them. Finally, all of you live in harmony with one another. Be sympathetic. Love as brothers and sisters. You didn't just say brothers, but basically I say we learn to love each other, don't we? Love each other. Be compassionate and humble. Compassionate is an open heart that's willing to listen. Humble is being willing to let go of your own ideas for a moment to hear something different. And this is a strong one. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. When we're standing and receiving insults or actions that are harmful or unloving, it's what? We want to defend ourselves, right? We're feeling our identities being attacked, but if we pause and remember and say, there's another way to see this, I can return it with what? A blessing. Return, do not repay evil with evil, insult with insult, but with blessing. Because to this you were called. Because to this you were called. You were called to this. That means Spirit has awakened in you this new level of conscious awareness of who you are in relationship to God and the universe and each other. So you are being called to this new way of being, to this harmonious way of being in relationship, even to those who are being evil to you. Because if you do this, you will inherit a blessing. In fact, you've already inherited a blessing. Your natural inheritance is God's blessings, just waiting to be received. So, sounds easy, doesn't it? Oh yeah, I'm ready. Here's the thing. It takes courage, doesn't it? It takes courage in that moment that you're feeling attacked or you're feeling afraid. It takes courage, and then it takes willingness to, just for this moment, set aside your own opinions and experiences and be willing to listen. Because being present, fully present, to allow someone to express themselves exactly where they are in their own truth allows for a miracle to happen. We also can practice asking harmonious questions. Do you know what a harmonious question might be? Yeah? How do you feel about that? Yes. Tell me more. What is this like for you? What or how are you experiencing this? Or what does it mean to you? Now, an amazing thing about these questions is they will completely shift the energy. Because that you have just recognized that person and said, I respect you and see you as a whole, beautiful expression of God. You may not actually say those words, depends on who you're talking to, but you're feeling that, right? I am accepting you right now as you are, and I want to hear more. And when these questions are asked, because I know when they're asked of me, it makes me pause and go, well, what do I mean? And now I have an opportunity to think about what I was just saying. And what do I mean? And now you can start to have a very heartfelt conversation. Or they might turn around and walk away. And that's okay. Because you have offered love, and it will never go wasted. Do you know that? Just because it doesn't appear to have been received, there is a part of them that is awake and knows, and it received that love. They may not know what to do with it yet. Bless them and carry on in your harmony. Above all, be kind and compassionate to yourself. Be kind and as kind and compassionate and open as you are with anyone else, be that to yourself. If we don't do it perfectly, learn from it and say, okay, I will do better next time. But what a beautiful chance I had to shift my intention to one of wanting harmony in this relationship and being open to understand more deeply. So let's move into meditation. With this idea of harmony, we invite you to sit back and close your eyes. Let your hands gently rest on your lap. Settle back into your seat until you feel comfortable and fully supported. Turn your attention inward. If it helps, begin to focus on your breath. The breath is a beautiful anchoring point to go deeply within. Take a moment to simply feel the air filling your lungs and feel a deeper sense of relaxation as you exhale. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Let the shoulders drop a little more. The muscles in the face relax. The arms and hands go limp. And feel the connection of your feet to the ground. Rooted and sure. And then move to your heart center. We move from our head to our heart, and we feel the energy there, the space. Just notice how it feels. If it feels a little tight and closed, that's okay. Just love it. Know that all the love in the universe is still present. And let it relax and open a little more. And as it relaxes and opens, you feel a light gently shining forth throughout your heart space, shining throughout your whole body, shining like an orb of light all around you, extending and blending seamlessly with everyone else's light. For the light is the same, and light knows light perfectly. And hear these affirmations. If one resonates with you, hold it in your heart. I am a whole and holy expression of God. Divine life and perfect love are the essence of my being. I am open to the divine flow of goodness, ideas, and substance. I release my ideas about, and fill in the blank with whatever you want to release. And I'm open to see this differently. I am one with the presence of God and see God in others. I give thanks for every one of my relationships. I am an agent of harmony in the world. When you're ready, take a gentle breath in. Nice slow exhale out. Let that affirmation, whichever one resonated for you, stay with you today. And set your intention. And feel yourself coming back into your body. You might wiggle a little in the chair, move your fingers and toes. And then gently open your eyes. Thank you. Namaste. And we end on a note of joy. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now we move into this offering part of our service. We know that as we give, we also receive. And it's through your generous giving that Unity of Charlotte continues to be a light into this community. So please join me as we say out loud, joyously I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I see. Thank you. The light of God surrounds us. We are light. The love of God enfolds us. We are life. The power of God protects us. We are power. The presence of God watches over us. We are presence. Wherever we are, God is.